A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Survival of No Limits. And so for today, I'm going to pretty much be coming back in here for a little bit, just so I can at least get some more stuff done on Survival of No Limits. Now you might be wondering, what am I going to be talking about today? Well, it's simple. I actually may not have my paper list, but guess what? I got a backup right here for at least the next couple of weeks worth of episodes. The rest I might have to try and resituate. So until then, let's just get on with the phone right here. Number 63 is basically going to be tsunamis. So, if you don't remember a couple days ago when I had already talked about freak waves, then well, let's just say that tsunamis are basically similar. Except this is, of course, the variety of waves that are related when water reaches land after a certain force had been triggered. And when that force happens in the water, whether it be from something like an avalanche or an earthquake or a large glacier collapse or something else that takes place, then the water is not necessarily visible. That is, of course, until it reaches a certain shoreline or bay or beach or somewhere else that happens to situate nearby land. And when that water reaches that area, still under that large driven force, it rises up. And when it rises up, it can be very, very high in terms of its height. When it reaches a certain height, it can be very destructive. And when it's destructive, of course, it can be very deadly as well. Deadly to all the people who live nearby, whether they are in fact near the bay itself, near a pier in the docks, or some other area that typically sits very close to an ocean or other large body of water that happens to house large amounts of tsunamis. It is common, of course, for tsunamis to happen worldwide, but again, it's a bit hard to take place. Unless, of course, that there was some other underlying disaster that had taken place. Earthquakes, avalanches, meteor strikes, volcanic eruptions, hydrothermal vents, sometimes other things as well, can be responsible for the creation of tsunamis across the board. And in all ways, they can, in fact, show that tsunamis are just another phase of extreme natural disasters. And that's certainly because, out of all known natural disasters that have taken place, earthquakes are known to rumble the earth, volcanic eruptions can cover the skies with ashes, and practically leave most of Earth nearly inhabitable. And then tsunamis, of course, come by and pretty much wipe out whatever kind of life has inhabited a certain part of the world. So of course I could pretty much just be here all day with that, just laying off the grim details and all of the rather heartbreaking facts. Tsunamis, of course, they are in fact pretty hard to prevent. And that's mostly because of all the other underlying things that I've labeled, plus other things that happen to exist. But tsunamis, of course, if you can prep for them in a certain way, then there's a good chance you might be able to survive. Though it would be best to pretty much move to high ground or just simply evacuate the area as soon as you possibly can. No matter what part of the world you're in, tsunamis can in fact prove to be very high, and they can travel pretty far in terms of how they can go on land. But that's more or less dependent on what kind of land that it pretty much covers up, and it also depends on how big the waves themselves are. I've talked a bit about how freak waves naturally sit out way in the open ocean, especially during large storm surges and the like. In the cases of tsunamis, though, if you could imagine how big freak waves could possibly be, and these same waves were to pretty much be able to transition all the way over to land, then these waves could, without a doubt, be some of the deadliest, gigantic waves that had ever existed. And we certainly know for a fact that there have been tons of tsunamis that have occurred throughout history, and many of which were as big as you could possibly imagine. Hundreds or even thousands of feet high, which is just devastating by all means. It's pure cataclysm from the waters, from the extremest of depths. And that goes without saying that they sure can take whatever life is in their way. Well, you know what? That's just probably the beginning of some new things that I'm going to be talking about soon, but if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.